Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well and your papers also went well. Even if in some of the papers if you have struggled, there is no reason to worry because we have found many a times that even the students who thought that I'm not going to make it, they have passed with flying colors. So do not let your previous performance affect any particular that is ahead of you. So business economics, this 1.5 day strategy will help you revise or everything that we have studied in the subject of business economics and help you obtain way more marks than you can ever imagine. So let's talk about it. Now, these are the topics which will be your main focus, and you have to revise MCQs that we have already covered in the class and from the MCQ book that we have shared with you. So after you come back from the examination on the 22nd, rest for a while and you can begin after 5. So from 5 to 6, 1 hour is more than enough for chapter 1. You have to focus on Robbins definition, scarcity concept, three different foundation of economics, central problems, right? What to produce, for whom to produce, what provisions to be made for future, how to produce, pragmatic and normative, and micro and macro approach. Then rest for a while, that is from 5 to 6 you can cover this and rest for half an hour and you can begin with chapter 2. So that will take you approximately 3 hours. So your focus should be elasticity of demand. Of course, from the law of demand, they also ask you question. When you cover elasticity, it will be covered as well. Expansion and contraction, proportionate and outlay method, a hell lot of questions are asked. Cross elasticity of demand and income elasticity of demand you have to focus upon. Indifference curve and law of diminishing marginal utility. All right. And also related to this, we have to cover what is known as budget line and consumer equilibrium. Elasticity of supply and equilibrium is very important. Remember the diagram that we have covered, all right, and the shifting of the curve as well. Then you leave chapter 3 and after it means after 9:30 you can go ahead, have your dinner and you can skip to then chapter number 5 because this can be covered in 1 hour or less maybe. Characteristics of business cycle, stages and their characteristics, expansion, contraction, peak and depression. Economic indicators, frequently asked questions, coincident indicator, leading indicator and lagging indicator you have to cover and then go back to bed. Next morning when you wake up, then you take up the chapter 3 where you have to focus on law of variable proportion, all right, and law of returns to scale. What are the reasons for returns to scale? Economies and diseconomies scale you have to focus. Relation between TP and MP, all right. And in the cost concept, remember all the diagrams or the class note that we have covered, TVC, TFC, TVC, ABC, AFC, ATC and MC with special focus on marginal cost. You have to also focus on relationship between marginal cost and average total cost, and a lot of questions are asked from this particular diagram, AC or ATC, and what happens or where does the MC cuts the AC or ATC. Relationship between MR, TR, AR, you have to figure out in the revenue concept, very, very important diagram. I hope you all remember the diagram. Clear? So this relationship you have to figure out, and then when 9 you know in the morning when you are done with this particular chapter 6 to 9, then you can rest for a while, have your breakfast, do some yoga or whatever, and you can start on the 23rd from 10 a.m. until 12 p.m. That is 2 hours it will take you to cover different types of market. Remember, special focus on perfect competition, equilibrium, production shutdown, continue and discontinue decision, wherein we compare price or AR with AVC. You have to cover. You have to cover marginal cost and marginal revenue relation. Remember the diagram, MR equals to MC. A lot of questions are asked. Oligopoly and monopoly, you have to cover. Monopoly, special focus on price discrimination. Pigou's different degree of price discrimination you have to cover, monopolistic competition. All right. So this is done by afternoon on 23rd. Then let's come back to F. This is already done. National income. So 1 to 4, that is after resting for 1 hour, you can begin from 1 to 4, 3 hours it will take you, and you can cover different methods of measuring national income. Value added method, expenditure method is very, very important. Most of the questions are asked from expenditure method and income method as well. Different components like GDP, GNP, NDP, NNP, GDP at market price, NDP at market price, the equation. Remember the golden rule that I've told you in taught you in class. Of course, you have to focus on numericals and system of regional accounts in India. You have to system of national accounts and regional accounts in India, and of course the limitation. Remember uh, in the system of national account how it is measured. I've told you, right? Then uh, every the entire economy is divided into uh, districts, states, and union territories. Supra-regional sectors you have to focus on. Under Keynesian model, you have to focus on 2, 3, and 4 sectors, of course, and inflationary and deflationary gap. Remember that. Components like marginal propensity to consume, marginal propensity to save, average propensity, average propensity to consume, not very important, but MPC and MPS very important. Numericals related to it's very important. All right. Then when you wake up in the morning, so uh, just hold on, sorry, not this is done in the afternoon. So you can rest for a while for an you can take little bit of afternoon nap, 1 hour. All right, and 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. This in public finance, a lot of data is there, but these are the pointers from where most of the question comes. So Adam Smith, market-based concept he mentioned. Richard Musgrave, functions of the government, allocation function, redistribution function, stabilization function. Business reasons for market failure. What are the reasons? You have monopoly, public goods free rider problem. Then you have externalities, different types of externalities. All right, negative production externalities received in production, received in consumption, and so on and so forth. Examples I've given you in the class. And information failure, important. Then demerit and merit goods, always they ask you one question. All right, price floor and price ceiling, always you will get one question from there. POV taxes and subsidies, remember pollution tax and cap and trade here are very important. Then finance commission, role of finance commission as a liaison between the state and the central government, important. Role of Niti Aayog is important. Budget and its components in this fiscal deficit is very, very important. And apart from fiscal deficit, primary deficit is also important components of budget. Right. Under fiscal policy, different instruments of fiscal policy, taxes, government borrowings, all right, government expenditure, these are very, very important. What happens when the government follows a deficit budget, and what happens when the government follows a surplus budget, and reasons for failure of fiscal policy with special focus on crowding out and lag. All right, important. So 5 to 7 p.m. this is done. You can rest for a while, half an hour, and then begin with money market. All right. So money market, Fisher's QTM, very, very easy. 10 minutes you can cover. Cash balance approach given by Keynes and others, Keynes, Robertson, Pigou, all right, and Marshall. Liquidity preference theory here, bond, market price of bond and interest rate of bonds, speculative demand for money is very, very important. All right. Then in the monetary policy, you have to remember the difference between M1, M2, M3, M4 in terms of liquidity. Then money multiplier approach given by Milton Friedman and Anna Swartz, very important. Credit multiplier, remember? All right. So you have to focus on credit multiplier as well. Credit multiplier, wherein we have figured out now credit multiplier equals to 1 by required reserve. Objectives of monetary policy is important. And tools very important: repo rate, reverse repo rate, liquidity adjustment facility, marginal standing facility, market stabilization scheme, open market operation, everything we have covered. And since it has been a recent change that has happened in 2006, 2016, sorry, is not a recent, but yes, a lot of changes happened in the RBI Act. So monetary policy committee is important. All right. So 9:30 p.m. it's done. Now, chapter 9, international trade, you have to cover in two parts. So, of course, you cannot afford to study overnight. You have to get adequate amount of sleep. So, 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. It means you are finishing here at 9:30. You can have your dinner, and then from 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. you have to cover international trade. You have advantages and disadvantages of international trade, and also you have similar advantages and disadvantages for FDI as well later on. Mercantilist theory, very simple theory, but a lot of questions are asked. Comparative theory of comparative advantage and disadvantage theory, all right, and absolute advantage and disadvantage theory. Absolute was given by Adam Smith and comparative by David Ricardo. All right, and factor endowment theory and new trade theory. Tariffs, under tariffs, specific duty, mixed tariff, bound tariff, escalated tariff, trigger price mechanism, under which we cover countervailing duty and anti-dumping duty, very, very important. Embargo, economic sanction is important. Non-tariff measures, technical and non-technical. Under non-technical, under technical measures, sanitary and phytosanitary measures are important. Always you get question. And of course, focus on non-technical measures as well. Under trade negotiation, relevance, why the GATT lost its relevance, what is the difference between WTO and GATT. Uruguay round you have to cover. Doha development round and guiding principles of WTO is very important. You have to also focus on why the developing and the least developed countries have lost faith on WTO. Then exchange rate and its economic effect. Remember, appreciation and depreciation of currency, how it happens, right? And what is its economic effect, what are its economic effect. Difference between fixed and floating exchange rate. How exchange rate is determined, remember, we have covered this simply in the class rate notes. Foreign exchange market, who are the participants in the foreign exchange market? I've seen that a lot of questions are asked from arbitrage as well. Then next unit, FDI and FII, difference is there. What is the main difference? That particular table you have to focus upon. Advantages and disadvantages of the FDI, which is very similar to advantages and disadvantages of foreign trade. Types of FDI, joint venture है, greenfield है, क्या है, alright. Different types of FDI is also there, whether it's a vertical FDI or conglomerate or horizontal FDI, right? Factors which negatively affect FDI inflows, like too high taxes, less, literacy level is very low, and all these things. Safeguards that the government needs to take to protect the economy against the negative impact of FDI is very, very important. And sectors where FDI is prohibited is also important. So this you will have to do in two parts. That is on 23rd from 10 to 12, and then when you wake up next morning 7 to 8 a.m. 2 hours, this will cover. For chapter 10, just revise the MCQ that I have shared you in the Yeshas book. Special booklet has been given containing around 1800 questions. Those questions are more than enough. You don't have to do anything after that. Please, after 9:30 a.m., if you still want to revise, rest for a while and take out your quick revision note and just read it through. 2 hours before the examination, please do not study anything. Your mind should be fresh. It should not be overburdened with all and overloaded with information. You have to go to the examination all with clear mind. Remember one thing, studying very, close to the examination time is always counterproductive. So, if 2 hours before the examination begins, you should not study anything. I hope this helped you. Wish you all the best and see you at the other side. See you in the intermediate. Bye bye. Take care and Godspeed.